Hi everybody, welcome back. This is the video that I've been promising that I would do and upload for you regarding these lingerie bags. Firstly, what I'd like to do is to say thank you to those that have subscribed. Please ask your friends to subscribe, or anybody that you know that's into sewing. I really need my numbers up to help me grow the channel and add additional content. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and share it amongst your friends. I've been sharing it onto Facebook and I've had a few questions and things from there, so that's a good idea as well. If you want to pop it on your Facebook or tell your friends to watch it by Facebook, I'd really appreciate it. Okay, so I'm going to do this video in two parts. The first part is going to be about sizing up your bag and measuring, cutting it out, etc. And then on the second part, excuse my dog walking up and down, it's like a little lasso when I'm videoing. It's very needy, it's my little boy. So, yeah, so cutting out and doing all we need to do before we sew. And then the second part of the video will be about actually sewing it. Now, for those of you that have got a sewing machine and that do sew, or that know how to sew, whether you're just beginning or just after some inspiration, then I'm going to do that video after this one. I will then do a video about your using the sewing machine for those of you that have just bought a machine and are not too sure, and that will include sewing safety as well. Not health and safety and all that. It's boring, but important. Don't get me wrong, really important. As a home sewer, we need to know how to sew safely as well as successfully. So this video will cover the basics on safety with your sewing machine. Okay. So this one, this size, is what I've been using to store in my handbag all my COVID bits and pieces. So this then goes in my handbag when I go shopping, put it in the shopping, take it with me, sorry, and then whatever I need is in here. So as you can see, I've got a face mask, which is one that I made. These are quite easy to make as well. Face mask, and I've got a face mask that I bought as well. I haven't done this shape. It's done in this neoprene fabric, which is a bit like I don't know, it's like a support thing, but it's stretchy and it's very strong. They use it with things such as wetsuits, things like that, but obviously a little bit thicker fabric than that. But anyhow, we digress. There we go. I've also got gloves in here and sanitizer. So all these just shove in this little bag, ready to take along. So there we go. So the first thing we're going to need is fabric, first of all, then a pattern, then our paper cutting scissors, which I've got all the bits and pieces here, paper cutting scissors, fabric cutting scissors. Now pins, lots of pins in there, depending on whether you want this to be a drawstring top like this, or whether you want it to be a drawstring top that's further down so that your cord's in a casing and it leaves you with like a bit of a frill at the top. I'll cover both ways. So this was a pre-made when I got through the post as a sample gift. So this isn't my work, by the way. I just needed to tell you that. These are ones that I have for the supermarket, which are for loose vegetables and things like that. I've got two of those. I think one's a bit bigger than the other. I might be both the same. Let me have a look. Oh yeah, they're both the same. Somebody bought me those as well. But you can make these for the supermarket out of an old net curtain or an old shirt or any bit of a t-shirt even that you're not bothered about cutting up. You don't have to buy fabric to be able to sew. You can actually recycle. Talking about recycling and repurposing, I have got a video planned where I'm going to show you how to make a garment for yourself or your children or whichever out of something that you already own. So stay tuned for that. That'll be in probably 2 or 3 videos time. So I have got it in mind. I've got a plan. But yeah, so I might actually record that later today if I've got time. and then upload it later in the week maybe. We'll see. See if it keeps raining, or even next week, because we're on Friday tomorrow, aren't we? Oh, don't know what day it is with this lockdown thing. So yeah, so this is what the type of thing we're gonna make. Show you how to make. You can also use these as lingerie bags. You can use them as, obviously depending on the size you do, you can use them as laundry bags to put laundry in. Santa sacks, which I've said that before. And the new storage, best storage apparently for bread is in a cloth bag. So you could also make a bigger one to fit your slice loaf and keep it fresher for longer. Apparently, according to This Morning last week and Alice Beer, that is the best place to store your bread. So anyhow, so fabric, I tend to buy, when I see them at a good price, fat quarter bundles, which come together like this. Now this contains, in this one, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of coordinating fabric. So this doesn't matter which fabric you use with which fabric in this bundle, they all coordinate, so they will look absolutely fine. So as a beginner, these are a perfect buy. Now, you could make a garment out of this, but it's a very expensive way of doing it, and it'll be a bit like a patchwork. But you could do a patchwork quilt out of it quite easily. So yeah, sometimes I've got 5 inch, sometimes there's 6, sometimes there's 7. They usually are 100% cotton, and they are made for patchworkers and crafting and things like that. So I have opened, this is one that I bought the other week. I think that was from Aldi actually, and it was £3.99. Now a fat quarter is a fat quarter of a yard, which is a certain size guide that patchworkers buy and quilters buy, which is 18 by 22 inches generally. You can get them a little bit bigger. Sometimes they're a little bit smaller, but that's generally the average size. This is a pack that I already opened. I bought them at the same time, and incidentally, they kind of coordinate as well. So you've got pinks and greens in here, and pinks and greens in here. So you could actually mix this pack with this pack and give yourself more options. So size-wise, I'll open one up and show you. They're quite big, really, and handy for so many things. There we go. So that's the size. Then iron nicely, they'll wash nicely because they're cotton. So anything to do with this fabric should be a success. Should be. I've had a few disasters when I've cut through them in the wrong place and things, but anyhow. So yeah, good to build your stash up with these, and you can get them basically everywhere. All the craft shops have them, Hobbycraft have them, the range have them, sometimes supermarkets have got them as well. And as I say, Aldi's have them, Lidl's have them, and all your sewing shops and things will stock them. Now to do this video, I was going to do a bigger one for the bread. So I've cut this out. Now this is the fat quarter, and on the inside I was going to line it, and this was an old sheet that I used, an old duvet cover. What happened was we wanted a duvet cover for our caravan, and we wanted one with caravans on the front, and we bought a caravan cover to match. Let me start again, sorry. We bought a duvet cover to make a curtain divider. The other van that we used to have had a divider between the lounge and the bedroom. And to make a matching dividing curtain in the van to the bedding that we bought, which was this, I bought another duvet cover, and I cut the back off it because we didn't need it with the back on. So I could just use the front of the fabrics. It needed to be lightweight, and I saved the back for other uses. I have used it for other bits and pieces that I've made, but there's plenty left, and I thought I'd do it in this as well and line it to match this fabric and line it so that this bag would be a lined bag. And again, that's an easy to do one. I will show you how to do that as well. So I will keep this one for when we do that, when I sew. And when on the sewing bit, I'll show you how to do a lined one. So if we're doing a normal drawstring one, you will also need some tape. This is just cotton tape. But if your fat quarter bundle, which they normally do, come wrapped in tape, well, I say tape, it's a fabric tape. It's like a woven length. Let me come up to you and see if you can see better on here. It's like, whoop, where are you? It's like a woven piece of fabric tape. So, save it. Anything that comes wrapped in tape, as I said to you before, ribbons, whatever, save them, roll them up, and put them in your sewing stash. For want of a better word, it's mainly called stash. So this will do one bag quite easily, this little bit. But you can buy it on the roll. This one I got from Dunelm. It wasn't very expensive. I think it was only £1, £1.50, something like that, or £2. And I think there's 10 metres on this. So if you wanted to make Santa sacks and gift sacks for people, gift bags for Christmas, pretty ones that they can keep and use for other things, you can make the gift bags, save on wrapping paper, make a load of gift bags, give your present wrapped up in the gift bag, use the gift bag as the wrapping. Oh, can't get my teeth in here today. And then the person that's receiving the gift can use it for something else. Spot on. So you're doing lots of things. You're saving the environment by using less product. There's not loads of waste paper going to landfill. Yeah, so there's a good win-win all around, really. So I use this tape for my drawstrings. This one does come with this one that came to me. Come with it's like a cord. It's not rope. It's like a cord, piece of string, whatever. You can use anything really, even ribbon, silky ribbon, anything. So that's that one. So we will need those. Now, when we come to one, you want the drawstring to be further down. It's called casing. So what I use for this is bias binding. You can use ribbon again for this, or you can use a strip of fabric and press it so that it looks something like bias. Bias binding's got folds over both. It's the length of fabric, cut on the bias at 45 degrees, because that will make it go round corners when you sew it, makes it bend. And it usually has, this is an inch I think. Where's my measure? Is it an inch? Let's have a see. Have a look at, yeah, this is an inch wide bias tape. Sometimes they come half an inch, so that big, and they'll be double fold. This is a double fold, 1 inch double fold bias binding. So there's two bits turned over, two edges turned over, which gives you a nice crisp finish on the edge. So what I do with this when I'm doing it onto a casing, onto a bag to put a casing, you sew the top of it, you sew the bottom of it, you have that end turned in, but I will show you how to do this. You have that end turned in so it doesn't fray, and then you go all the way around your bag. You just put that so that it looks like it's been cut off, make it right length, and I'll show you how to do this. So you go like this until you've got your bias to here, and you leave an opening, and then you thread your drawstring through there. So then you can put that as high up your fabric as you want to. It can be up here, but you're typically about an inch from the top, or 2.5 centimetres from the top is a good, gives you a little bit of leeway, it's a little bit of gather at the top. You can put it further down if you want it more floppy. Bias binding is a good thing to have in your stash because it can be used for all sorts of things. You can do hems with it on your garments. You can edge cushions in it. It makes it edges your seams, finishes your seams so the garments don't unravel. And it's easy to use because, as I say, it's cut on the bias, so it makes it bend quite easily, and so if you bend it then it sews flat as well. So you'll see as we go along what I mean, it'll become clear. So that's your bias binding. And then we just I need to get some paper to do our pattern. I thought I had that with me, but no, I went and got a drink instead. Knowing, as I said to you before, that I gas a lot, I need to drink a lot. So grab yourself a drink while I pause you a minute, and then I will be back to show you how to do a pattern. Okay, see you in a sec. Hello, I'm back. Right, this one, I've got my paper. This is just no paper, not special paper, it's just standard paper. I think this is out of a children's drawing pad. It's thin, it makes good patterns, it's fine. But you can use any paper that you've got on hand, anything that you've got at all. Even greaseproof paper, if you've got no other paper, greaseproof paper or baking parchment, anything like that, brown paper, whatever you want to use, you can use for the pattern. Okay. Now this bag, this little one, is, I'll do your inches, and it's 7.5 inches long, which is 19 centimetres, and it is 6.25 inches across, which is 16 centimetres. Now this one has been sewn by cutting a long thin piece of paper, fabric, and folding it upwards. So if we're going to use the measurements from this, we can either do it and sew along the bottom, or we can double the length, because we know it's got a fold in this one, which then when we've sewn it up the sides will make this size, or we can do it that way and fold it in half. It's entirely up to you whichever way you do it. Either way will give the same results, but what you've got to remember is you need to add a seam allowance. Once you've measured your item, decide where you're going to sew, whether it's across the top, down the sides, or at the bottom, whichever. Decide where you're going to sew and add however many seams you're going to use. You need to add 1 centimetre. In dressmaking, if you do a seam, generally a pattern will include a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. When you're crafting fabrics and doing your own pattern, you need to add to whatever you design, whatever you draw, whatever you're going to make. If it's not from a standard pattern that has an included seam allowance, you have to include additional fabric to allow for that seam. Otherwise, your item will be smaller than you think it will be. And once you've sewn it and cut the fabric and sewn it, you can't go back. You can't make it bigger. You can always make it smaller, but you can't make it bigger. So just remember that. If it's something that you're designing yourself or copying, you need to add the seam allowance wherever there's going to be a seam. Okay, that's the most important thing to remember at the very start. So what I will do is, if we do one the same as this, let me measure again. So I work in inches. So 7.5 inches. I'm going to cut it long ways. I think I'll have a look at my fabric. By 2. So if you write it on a piece of paper, 7.5 by 2 plus the top turnover, which again is not included. So the top turn hem. That means I need to remember to add that. So if I underline that, it'll remind myself. And then acrosswise, it is, what did we say, 6.25 by 2, because we're going to make it 2 off, front and back, plus seam allowance, seam allowance. And that's what we need to figure out, how we're going to do this. So let's pick a fabric. I think I'll do it in, I might use this actually. This is lovely. This one's called Tropical, I think. So this is this one, lovely fabric, nice cotton, nice weight cotton. Right, so let me see. 7.5 inches is 15 inches. If I double it and do it as a long thin piece. So let's see how long this is. This is 17.5. You see, it said on the label that these are 18 inches. But obviously it's been cut by machine and it's a little bit out. So you're always better, don't rely on the label measurement. Measure it yourself. Measure your actual piece of fabric. So 17.5. So we can get that on there, because if we double the front and back, so that's 7.5 plus 7.5. That gives us the front and the back. If we fold it upwards, that gives us the front and back. And then we need to do the turnover hem at the top, where we're going to put our cord through. So that needs to be about an inch or a centimetre, no, an inch I reckon. So we'll get our cord through. 7.5 times 2 is 15, plus an inch, 16. Now this is 17.5, so that's fine. 16 will fit that way. And then because it's longer that way, then obviously the width is going to fit. So you have two options. You can either draw directly onto your fabric, or you can draw it on a piece of paper. Now this piece of paper is 11.5 inches. So if I was to draw it onto here, then I would need another piece of paper stuck across the bottom. Now you can do that. You can do that, that's no problem. And this is 8 inches. So you would get, if you stuck two pieces of paper together, top to bottom, like so, sellotape over the edge, that will give you obviously longer paper. You can then draw your length out on there and then your width and cut that, pin it onto your fabric and cut out. Then you've got the template. That will be then called a template for next time you make one, if you want one the same size. Now because this is fairly straightforward and straight edges, no curves, no pattern matches to do or anything like that, what I'm going to do is draw it directly on the fabric. So let me move that. When you're cutting fabric out and drawing fabric, you need it dead flat on the table, and so there's nothing going to make your seams a bit wavy or wobbly. They need to be straight and they need to be flat. Your fabric needs to be flat. So I'm going to take my fabric pencil, this is a twisty one, and I'm going to grow 6.25 across. Now I only need to do this once because we're not doubling. We've doubled the length that the fabric's going to be, the height. So we're going to fold it upwards, like an envelope. So I don't need to double the width because that calculation, that fabric will be included in there. Front and back is included in the long bit. If I was doing it the other way and folding it that way, I would need to double the width and then not double the height. So either or, whichever way you're doing it on your fabric, you'll only need to double one of the lengths or widths. So this is 6.25 plus I need a seam allowance on each seam. So there's going to be 2 seams because we're doing it this way. So I need it to be 6.25 inches, and I'm going to allow half an inch. So that'll be 6 3/4. So I'll do it as 7 inches wide, and then it's easy, straightforward number. 7 inches wide. So I need to put I use a metal ruler when I'm putting anything out like this. I just find it easier, but you can use whatever you want to. A piece of card, as long as it's straight, it's fine. So 7 inches. Get this on the edge and make a mark on my fabric. Now this is, turn it up a little bit, water soluble, so it will come off with this pen off the fabric once it's washed. You can even sponge it off if you want to, once you've made your garment. So 7 inches again, move further up and measure regularly and make a mark. This is blue, it's wrong colour really, but I can see it. And then further up, 7 inches, like so. And then I'm going to draw down and join the dots, so to speak. So you put your ruler on the top one, then on the next one, and on the bottom one. And that then will give you a straight line. When you join those up, you can see it better now it's joining. So you can see that. Where are we? Here. It's a bit difficult to see because it's nearly enough the same colour, but you'll be able to see it when I've cut it. So now fabric scissors, not paper scissors, fabric scissors. Oh, the button's a bit wobbly. Need to make sure that's tightened up a bit. long, nice, even strokes. Use the full length of the scissor blade from here to here. Keep your fabric flat, scissors flat on the table. I love that crunching. Nice. Slide your fabric so that you can control it. Ooh, there we go. So then you get rid of the spare fabric. That can go out of the way for a minute. Now turn round, and we said 7.5 is the length that we want finished. So 7.5 and is 15 doubled. Plus 2 hem tops, so we said we'd do those at 7.5, so that's 15, 17, we'll give it an inch either side, so 17 inches this needs to be, which is just, there's a smidge to come off. A smidge is a little bit, if you don't know what that means in my language, a smidge is a bit. So again, make sure your fabric's still flat, keep your line straight, mark your line, we'll do 3. Mark your line, 17. There we go. And then join your line together again. Join your dots, join the dots. Oops. There we go. You can see that a bit better. Fabric scissors in, cut. Full length of the blade. In, cut. Otherwise you end up with lots of ziggy-zaggy bits on your fabric. Hold your fabric down, snip. That then is rubbish. And that will be your bag. When we've folded it up and stitched it and put a drawstring through the top, that's what it will become. Now when you join fabric together, you always sew with right sides together. So we'll put it right sides together ready, and then we know which way we're sewing. And before we sew that, what we need to do is turn over the top, probably edge, such as that. I'll show you this when we do part 2 of the video. And then we turn over a little bit more, which then will ensure that this sewn edge does not fray, and then it gives space to put your cord through there. But if we do this before we sew the sides together, it's far easier. So you need to do your top bits for the casing, and then do your side pieces. So we'll do that shortly. That's that one. And now I'm going to show you one with a casing. So we'll do green. Let's have a look. Yeah, we'll do a green one. We're doing out of this one. Shall we do this one? We'll do this one. You might be able to see the pen a little bit better on it then. So we did. We're going to do it. Do it the other way this time, so that we're going to fold it like a book, like that, so that you can see what I mean about doubling the width. So it was 6 1/4 wide. We know that the length will fit on here. It was 7.5, so it was 15 plus seam allowance, and this is 17, wasn't it? So because we're going to be doing the other way, we don't need to double that. So we need to draw, first of all, let's draw a line. Now let's check this fabric straight. Yeah, because these triangles are all cut at the same height. If you'll see, sorry, the squares, they're a square, and directly where the points come out there, the fabric's cut there. So we know it's straight because the same fabric, the same triangle, square even, is cut through the middle. So we know that that edge is perfectly straight. Let's check the measurements on this fabric again. Now this one is just over 17.5, so it's not 18 again. That measurement's still wrong. And the length is 22. So that way it's been cut properly and cut in the right size. The size on the labels is correct, but that way it's ½ inch out. So never rely on what it says on the label, unless you've got it cut at a fabric shop, because they will measure it in front of you. Okay. Right, so we need it to be 7.5 inches high plus 1 inch for the turnover at the top and 1 inch at the bottom. Now 1 inch at the 1 inch for top and bottom, because we're putting a casing on this, so we don't need to allow as much fabric. So 7.5 plus 1 inch, so that makes it 8.5, which is near enough. With this type of thing that you make, accuracy is important, but if it's 1/4 inch bigger, it doesn't really matter because it's a bag. It's not something that needs to fit you closely and perfect. So this has got a crease here at 8.5, and we need it to be it's just over 8.5. We needed it to be 7.5. So let's put that off. We'll cut down the crease, I think. It's a straight line. I'm just checking that the line is straight. Yeah. So I'm going to cut down this crease, this fold here. Full length of my scissors. Full length of my scissors. Right, so put that away. Now, this is what I mean by when you fold it. You're going to fold it that way and sew along here, but we need to obviously cut this to the right length. Now, when we cut the other way, we're going to fold it that way and sew down there. So if it sounds confusing with your measurements, please don't get hung up about it. If you're sewing, folding it up and sewing it that way, you need to double the length that you want it to be and add a seam allowance at the top and down the sides. Now, because we're folding this the other way, so like that, we need a seam allowance for this side only, and a seam allowance for the bottom, and a seam allowance at the top for the drawstring to go through, for the hem to stop it fraying. And we're going to put a casing on here, so we don't need to allow for the casing. So let me have a look, and we will just let me put on my dog's back. Excuse me a second. Hi, I'm back. I'm sorry about that. I really do need to learn how to edit these videos so that when the dog's back I can cut it out for you. Hey, point in case, this. And yes, I'm back again. I'm trying to keep calm. Okay, so 6 1/4 by 2 is 12.5. And if we add 1 inch seam allowance, for the, no, we don't need 1 inch really. What shall we do? We'll do ½ inch. Yeah, ½ inch. So 12.5, so that's 13. So if we do this 13 inches, the size doesn't really matter as long as you've got the size you need it to be. Yeah, I mean, you could do it the size of a piece of A4 paper, and then that would, let's just draw this and then I'll show you what that would give you. Let's cut, draw down here, join the dots. You can see that better this time. There you go. So if you did it on an A4 piece of paper, if that was your fabric, and fold it in half, it's going to give you something very similar size to what we're doing. So, and then you draw a string through the top. Yeah. So it's up to you. You do it any size you want to, and if you're doing Santa sacks, I think they need to be the bigger the better. They don't have to be full right to the very top with stuff. So, spare bit of fabric, keep that over there. Never throw fabric, unless it's a little scratchy piece like that. But always save your fabric, you never know. You'll soon build a stash up. So that will be, when it's sewn, that will be our bag. But because we're putting a casing on this, which is a strip for the cord to go through, Okay, what we need to do is to put a piece below of the bias tape, the same width as the fabric. So we need to just measure this. That's both sides, don't forget, so it doesn't need to be much bigger than the width of the fabric, but I allow probably 1 inch to 2 inches for folding under like that, so it's neat and your edges don't fray with pulling the cord in and out and in and out. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to finish the seam at the top by however you want to do it. I usually turn over a narrow hem, teeny hem, or something like this, fold it over twice, sew along this line, and that'll stop that hem from that fabric edge from fraying. We'll do this, I'll take this to the machine in a second and I'll show you what to do, because we do that first, then we attach this and then we sew the rest of it up. Okay, so bear with me. Watch for part 2 coming very shortly. That's how to cut your fabric for this bag. I hope it wasn't too distracting with me pausing a few times, and I hope the measurements weren't too distracting. If you've got any queries at all, please put it in the comments box for me below and I will answer you. If you've got any questions, anything you want to say, please let me know below. I will read them all and I will answer you as well. Thank you again for subscribing. Please share, please get your friends to subscribe. And if you've got any suggestions of what you want to see, then also put that in the comment box. Or anything you want to know, put that in the comment box. If you want to know any more about me, ask me the question. Alright, my lovelies. So I'll see you in a while on the next video. Have fun, even though it's raining. Get some.